With the holidays and the holiday travel season upon us, I thought we'd look at what major airports will probably screw up your holiday plans. Everybody knows when you fly, there's a chance that the flight will be delayed. That is just how it works. There's so many things that could go wrong when traveling. It is just a matter of time before you end up missing a flight. Weather's normally the culprit for any delays, but they also have mechanical failures, different emergencies, and these days, idiots that have to be removed from the plane because they won't sit down, won't store their bag, they start arguing with other passengers, and occasionally they assault a flight attendant. That's always great. Side note, when you do that and you get arrested, you go for the long ride. For whatever reason, flights get delayed at every airport, some more than others. Today, I thought we would look at the airports that have the highest percentage of delayed flights according to data provided by the Bureau of Transportation Statistics. We are ranking them by the percentage because obviously airports like Atlanta, Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles are going to have far more flights, thus more delays. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, John F. Kennedy International Airport, New York City, New York. More commonly known as JFK, this is one of the busiest airports we have in the country. Before I go on, take a guess where it ranks on the busiest airport list. I bet you'll be wrong. Most people think that it is probably number 1, 2, or 3, something like that. JFK is not even in the top 10. It's number 13. That's in 2022. Prior to the pandemic in 2019 and 2018, it was ranked 6th in the nation. Back then, it saw about 30 to 31 million passengers every single year. In 2021, the numbers really slipped. Some other airports recovered a lot better than they did. They actually only saw 15 million in 2021. That's around half of what they had prior to the pandemic. You take places like Charlotte, they were seeing about 22 million and 24 million in 18 and 19. And then in 2021, they had 20 million. So they're doing a lot better. That's how most airports are. JFK's just hasn't recovered as well. Part of the reason JFK isn't as busy as some of the other international airports in the country, it's because they have 2 pretty good sized airports in the general area. You got LaGuardia Airport, which is just north of JFK, and right across the Hudson River, you have Newark Liberty International Airport, New Jersey. And those 2 airports are 2 of the worst ones we have in the country. But JFK sees about 20% of their flights are delayed 15 minutes or more. Number 9, Baltimore. Baltimore's BWI International Airport is also known as Baltimore Washington International Thurgood Marshall Airport. Yeah, it's a mouthful. This is another one that probably should be a lot busier, but they also have a few good-sized airports in the area. You have Dulles International Airport and you have Ronald Reagan International Airport, both less than an hour away from BWI. With traffic, which there's a ton of traffic all the time, I'm sure it's a little bit longer. Prior to the pandemic, BWI saw about 13 million passengers every year over the last few years. In 2020, they saw a little over 9 million, with about 20% being delayed over 15 minutes. Number 8, Tampa International Airport. Anytime I've ever flown in or out of Tampa, I've always gotten this feeling that this airport needs to be bigger. I'm not saying it's horribly run or anything like that, it just seems like it should be bigger. But overall, my opinion is Tampa's not a bad airport. It's easy to get in, get out of. It's not that bad, unless you're trying to take a flight in or out of there. I mean, that's when things get delayed. Tampa's kind of recovered from the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, they saw about 22 million passengers. That was in 2019. 2018, it was about 20 million. So they were on the upswing of traffic. Then, of course, the pandemic comes along. They dropped down to about 10 million. And then in 2021, they saw 18 million. So they were recovering pretty good. It's just too bad 21% of their flights are delayed more than 15 minutes. Number 7, Chicago Midway. Chicago has 2 major airports. You got O'Hare, which is the larger one, and then you have Chicago Midway, which is in Southside Chicago, so while you're taking off or flying in, you could see the gunfire from above. I did a thing about the worst airports one time and Midway made it on there, and a guy tried to argue with me that O'Hare and Midway see about the same amount of passengers. The guy's dead wrong and he just didn't want to accept it. I even sent him links. He didn't take it in. Here's the difference. O'Hare International Airport, before the pandemic, saw close to 40 million passengers a year. These days, they're seeing about 26 million. Midway saw about 10 million in 2019, 2018, and right now they're seeing almost 8 million. It sucks when numbers prove you wrong. It really does. I mean, it hurts. You're used to urban legend and stories that are told on the porch, and then you find out the numbers don't match up with what your Aunt Edna used to tell you. In my experience, if you have the choice, pick O'Hare over Midway. Midway sees about 21% of their flights being delayed over 15 minutes. Number 6, Denver International Airport. Denver's one of those places that you always seem to have a layover when you're going to or from the West Coast. Them and Salt Lake City. I don't know what the deal is. I always end up in one of them. Denver's an extremely busy airport, and there's a lot of conspiracies that swirl around this place, from secret government operations going on inside the terminal to a giant blue stallion that killed its creator. Yeah, they got this statue that they call Blucifer because it's blue and it's got glowing red eyes. Well, the sculptor actually was killed by it. He was crushed by it at one point. At one point, I make it sound like this happened several times. No, it just happened once, and the sculptor is dead. About 22% of Denver's flights are delayed over 15 minutes. Prior to the pandemic, Denver International Airport would see a little over 32 million passengers a year. In 2021, they almost got to 29 million. Number 5, Harry Reid International Airport, Las Vegas, Nevada. Most people know it as McCarran International Airport. That's what it was since forever. One thing I really like about Harry Reid International Airport, it is in Paradise, Nevada, which is right there by the Strip. If they would have put the terminal on the other side of the airport, you would literally step outside the terminal and be on the Las Vegas Strip. I like this airport. It's easy to get into and get out of, even though it's not on the Strip. A comedian years ago talked about how the flight to Vegas is amazing. Everyone's happy about the flight, they're all excited, and that flight back on Sunday, you'll never see so many depressed people, which it's very true. Prior to the pandemic, Harry Reid International Airport, or McCarran, whatever you want to call it, saw about 24 million passengers a year. In 2021, it was up to 19 million, so they're recovering pretty good. It's just too bad 22% of their flights are delayed 15 minutes or more. Number 4, Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. This is another airport that would probably see more passengers, but they've got a couple other airports in the area, including Love Field, which isn't nearly as big, but it still sees a good amount of flights. The only thing I don't like about Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport is their tram system. It moves too slow. If you go to some of the other airports, they have tram systems that are like rocket sleds. Dallas-Fort Worth is like the kiddie ride at Disneyland. I was also walking into a restroom at the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport one time, and a man winked at me. I mean, maybe it wasn't a big deal, but you don't do that when you're walking into a restroom. Before the pandemic, Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport saw around 35 million passengers a year. They're almost back up to that. In 2021, they saw 30 million, so not bad. What is bad is about 23% of their flights are delayed over 15 minutes. Number 3, Fort Lauderdale International Airport. Technically, it's Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. This is another airport that sort of surprised me. It's bigger than I thought it was going to be. Now, granted, it's been about a decade since I was there last. I'm sure it's even bigger now. Airports rarely shrink. I like this one because it's easy to get in and out of also. It's kind of a pleasant little airport. That's like one of the big things for people when they're judging an airport. It's like, how easy was it to get in and get out? When it's a struggle, that airport usually falls under the category of this place sucks. Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport before the pandemic saw about 17 million passengers. They're almost back to normal. In 2021, they had just under 14 million passengers. And about 24% of their flights are delayed over 15 minutes. Number 2, Orlando International Airport. The only reason this one is as big as it is because of Disney World. Honestly, if it wasn't for Disney World, this airport would be half the size that it is. Orlando International Airport was seeing 25 million passengers every single year. In 2021, they got all the way back up to almost 20 million. They're moving in the right direction. This, of course, means more delayed flights. Orlando International Airport sees about 24% of their flights delayed over 15 minutes. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There's a link down below. All the proceeds for that channel go towards classrooms. We donate the money from that channel to Donors Choose. It's a website for teachers where they set up projects. It would really help out the channel if you went and subscribed and watched some videos. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Newark Liberty International Airport, or as I call it, the airport that time forgot. This place is a waste of your time. Been a few years since I've been there and I've heard it's gotten better, but in a past video, this was my solution to dealing with Newark Liberty International Airport. I said they should mow the entire thing down, plant a forest, set the forest on fire, then a couple decades from now, the only thing people will remember is that there was a forest fire here. This place seems like someone designed it using silly string. They've been doing a ton of work there, so it may have gotten a lot better. I don't know. I don't know how that's possible. It's horrible. Prior to the pandemic, Newark Liberty International Airport saw about 23 million passengers every single year. They're not where they need to be. In 2021, they only saw 14 million. Newark Liberty International Airport sees about 26% of their flights delayed over 15 minutes. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. I know a lot of you are flying over the next few weeks for the holidays and such. Be safe, do what you can. Try not to go crazy trying to fly. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.